All right, we are live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm really excited here to bring to you another weekly event here in Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. Today, guys, is a really special day because I actually have a guest on the line here, Kyle Redman. He's the affiliate manager over at Batch Services, and he is going to be diving deep into BatchDialer today, right? How we can set you guys up for success. So for those of you who don't know or just joined the group, my name is Chris Logan, and Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple is where we truly make wholesaling simple so you can get started making money in wholesaling, break free from the 9-to-5, and create a life of financial freedom. So the way that we have brought in the majority of our sellers and have done deals has been through cold calling. So I firmly believe that picking up the phone is the fastest way to get to sellers, right, and do deals. And that is the way that I have all my coaching clients start out on. That's the main channel that we use. And so we're going to be diving deep into some of the tools that we use to do that today. So before we get started here, what I'd like to do is kind of share with you a reason why that we migrated over to BatchDialer. Now, this is a really big thing for me, right? It's a big change for us because we've used a different dialer for probably the last 5 or 6 years. But the issue was, what I found is it just kept getting more complicated and more complicated. And there's a lot of moving parts there. And then when we launched our coaching program, a lot of people who are brand new coming in, just getting started, trying to use like a call center dialer was just very confusing for them. It was very expensive. And so we had to find another solution, right? And my goal for all of you all for coming into wholesaling, right, is to keep things simple, as our name states, right? And so I was on the search for another dialer that was out there that was much easier to use, user-friendly. When you log in, it wouldn't be intimidating, and it would just be very, very simple, right? And after interviewing 5 or 7 different other dialer companies, I didn't take this decision lightly because, like I said, this has been our main channel of marketing. What I did is I landed on one that I felt was a great place felt like home, right? That we could commit to, and that I could confidently and comfortably recommend it to everybody else, all of my clients, and everyone here in the Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple community. So like I said, who I have online right now is Kyle Redman, and he's with BatchDialer, and he's going to be walking you guys through a simple tutorial, how BatchDialer works, why it's the go-to dialer for what you want to use when you're picking up the phone, cold calling motivated sellers, and how he can make it simple for you. So we're going to go through a simple setup. We're going to go over some features that we've used in my own dialer, that we've used to organize our campaigns and things like that, and just get you guys off the ground running. Plus, if you stick with us to the end, we have a special offer for you. So hang in there with us to the end. We're going to go ahead and dive in. And Kyle, I'll give you the floor.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the intro. Yeah, I have a pretty amazing position here at Batch. I get to work with individuals just like Chris, and I get to see the behind the scenes of what really makes their operations tick. And it's exactly what he just said. It's all about simplifying the process at the end of the day, because there's so many moving parts in a business. And when you guys are just starting out, you don't want to have to connect all these different things and continue to moderate it, because then you have to hire another position and person to do that job for you. So when designing the BatchDialer, that was our main focus, is keeping it simple for the marketplace, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, and we can kind of dive into the product. I'm sure everybody's waiting and dying to see that. So let's go ahead and share my screen. Bing.
You may need the ability to do that. Let me see if I can do that real quick. All right, great. Perfect.
There we go.
Can everybody see that? Just go ahead and comment really quick. I want to make sure you all can see this. Go ahead and put in comments. And also, one of the things we want to know is where you're watching from. So go ahead and post a comment where you're watching from. We'd love to see where people are coming from all over the country here watching today in Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. All right, Kyle, you're ready to rock and roll.
Beautiful, beautiful. So like I was saying, yeah, simplifying the process is key. We want to make sure you save time when you're making calls, because that's going to increase your output. One thing that is very unique to our dialer, and a lot of people don't know this, we're going to deep dive into it, is basically monitoring your numbers at the end of the day. You know, a lot of people don't do this, and a lot of people don't know about basically monitoring the reputation of your number. And every single number basically has a scorecard, right? So when you're calling people, you're going to be scored by the carrier, which is like AT&T, Sprint. I mean, there's so many out there, Verizon. And every time you're calling and you're making connection in a certain way, whether it's going straight to voicemail, whether it's calling landlines, 1-800 numbers, you're getting scored on that, right? And if somebody's putting you on their do not call list, or if they're hitting that it's spam, you're going to get scored on your numbers. So we're going to dive in and show you how we actually monitor the reputation of your numbers, right? And we want to make sure that your team, right, when you're building, is that you're able to scale within our product, right? The goal is to take yourself out of the business at the end of the day, and hopefully have somebody that can dial for you, or a team that can dial for you, right? Because that way you can virtually wholesale nationally. And the key is keeping everything in one place. So there's a lot of cool things and connections that maybe we'll save for another time with some of our other products. But I mean, that's the key function of our dialers. So if you dive right in right now, you can see this is just a simple interface, right? You're going to see all of your live KPIs. You're going to see your agent breakdown, and you're basically going to see anything that is going on that is live. Okay. So you can see your outbound calls, your abandon rates, your active leads that are basically being connected, how many people are dialing. So the KPIs are endless inside of Batch, because you always need to know your KPIs. It's the number one thing inside of your dialer. So we make sure that we simplify that for you. Okay. And there's 3 different views and individuals that can be inside of an account. So the first, if you click right here, you're able to see who is actually in this account. One, you have your agent, your admin, sorry, which is myself, right? So the person that owns the business, or is the owner of the account, is the admin. They have the overview of everything, right? Then you have a supervisor, which we actually give you a supervisor position for free. And that supervisor is able to overlook all of the KPIs on the account. And for instance, you can see right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 agents that are in this account. So this is a really good operation, right? You got 5 people that are dialing for you nationally, and each one of these individuals have a basic different view, right? So the admin's going to see everything. The supervisor is just going to see the KPIs, and the agents are only going to see the campaigns that they are in and their own KPIs. Okay. So
and Kyle, can I jump in here for 1 second?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so check this out, guys. So real quick, so it's really important. Kyle's talking a lot about KPIs. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's key performance indicators, right? So that's our activity within the dialer. Okay, yeah. So if you're just dialing yourself, it's really important if you have a team of people dialing for you, or if you're the one making the calls yourself. It's really important to track your activity. Most new wholesalers, when they first start out, they are not tracking their activity. And so they don't know how many dials it takes to get a lead, how many leads it takes to get a contract. And so they're flying blind out there, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And so doing the work and putting in the dials, it gets really exhausting to them because there's no end in sight, right? But what I love about Batch and what he's diving into here, Kyle's diving into, is you can track all that activity in real time. So when you start to get leads, you can drill down to how many dials it takes to get a lead, how many hours it takes to get a lead, all those things, how many sellers you're connecting with, all that. This is really important, whether you're dialing yourself or if you have a team. So I just want to share that because, again, most new wholesalers don't track their activity, and that's why they don't have success. But BatchDialer here is setting you all up for success by giving you transparent view of your activity, so you always know what's going on with the time that you're putting in, the valuable time that you're putting in. All right.
Yeah, amen to that, Chris. And the key here is it's providing you basically an overview of the levers that you need to pull to be successful, right? Yeah. You can basically like tell the story of what's going on. Let's say that maybe you designed or created a list or uploaded a list, and your connection rate is just, not very good, or the abandon rate is not very good, right? You can tell that, hey, maybe this list is not a good list. Maybe I should change this campaign because I'm not connecting with individuals, right? Or maybe it's your numbers, right? Maybe your numbers need to change. Maybe you need to change your numbers out because they're spam likely. So there's a really cool story to tell when you understand your KPIs at the end of the day. And I'm assuming that's Chris probably beats on that inside of his course when he teaches you guys that, because that is one of the main things that you need to be focused on. Okay, so let's go next into how basically, I want to go actually into reputation management first, and then we'll dive into creating a campaign. It takes about 2 minutes to create a campaign. So this is one thing that's very unique to our dialer, okay? And it's called phone number reputation management. So what you'll see is that in one of our plans, we actually provide you with the numbers, okay? So numbers can get expensive depending on where you're buying them from. So we actually, in one of our in one of our packages and plans, we provide you those numbers, and then we monitor the reputation of them. So if you look here, you can see all the reputation of the carriers, okay? So you can see AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, right? And what will happen is a flag will go over whatever carrier is flagged with spam likely, right? And if that happens, what we do is we auto replace it. So we take that number out if it's flagged, and we automatically do this, our software does. We put a new number in that's not flagged, and we let that other number cool off for a little bit. Sometimes it could be up to 2 weeks that it needs to cool off. Sometimes it could be up to 2 months. It depends on, you know, what's going on with that number. So we make sure that your numbers are monitored correctly and that they're not hitting that spam likely list. And normally when people join a dialer, they don't think about that, right? And they sometimes will maybe blame it on the dialer. Why is this dialer not working? Why are my KPIs so low? They don't think about the reputation of their number. And raise your hand real quick, put a 1 in a chat. When is the last time, right, that you picked up a spam likely call? Usually never. Nobody ever picks up a spam likely call. It's very rare that that happens. So you want to make sure that you're monitoring your numbers at the end of the day. And if you want to, which I would advise you, is to get the plan with the phone number reputation monitoring. Okay, so that's our monitoring system. Now, to jump into a campaign real quick, you're going to go to campaign right here. And you can see there's a ton of different campaigns. So you're going to click new campaign to build a new one. And we have a preview dialer and a predictive dialer. Preview is basically doing kind of one-off calls, right? If you're just starting off and you want to do one-off calls, great. Do a one-off call, get used to it. But I would advise you to do the predictive dialer, which you can have up to 10 lines dialing at one time. I don't advise you to have 10 lines dialing at one time. I would advise you to have maybe 3 to 4 lines dialing at one time. That way you're not getting overwhelmed, okay? If you have a good list with good data, that's all you need, 3 to 4 lines. So
and one of the things, guys, really quick, not jumping here, Kyle, so where a preview dialer really comes into play is, let's say you guys have these like really small niche lists, okay? So let's say you have like probate, right? Probate, there's probably like 15, 25 records on a list. Maybe you have like a super niche list that's like, example, an out-of-state owner who's facing foreclosure. He has liens against the property and the property's vacant. A very small list that would be too small to put into a dialer because the dialer would blast through really quickly. You could go ahead and put it into a preview campaign, right? And basically you could do click to call on each one of those records. And then you can even set up a rule inside BatchDialer, which is amazing, where if you don't reach that person inside the preview campaign, you can have them automatically added to a dialer campaign. So it really helps you make sure you're reaching the right people and the people that you need to reach when you need to reach them. The last dialer that we were using was like a call center type dialer. There's a lot of dialers are out there. And if you're to upload like a small little probate list or a small list of like 100 or less or 50 or less, you would zip through that so quick and you would burn your leads. This doesn't do that. It gives you 2 options to how to dial on those records. And the preview dialer is really the best way to call those really tiny lists, but can be very, very motivated and great sellers to get in contact with. So, okay, go ahead.
I agree. I agree. That's a good point. No, yeah, I agree. Now, the next step is you're going to basically add your agents, right? And if it's just you, great, just add yourself. But you can also make groups of agents if you have you know, a bigger operation. So we're going to add 2 agents right there. You can also create a new agent here. It's very simple. You basically put their first name, last name, email, and it will invite them to the platform. Now, phone numbers, this is key. So I'm going to put a group of 15 in here. And what you're going to see down below is you never really like want to call more than 150 people per number per day. Okay. So this is 15 numbers right here. So you're going to make 2,250 calls with 15 numbers. All right. And we're going to monitor that for you. So, we get some people that start out and they'll buy like, 4 numbers and try to call it 10,000 times in one day. And it just doesn't work, right? They hit that spam likely really quick and they're blowing through their numbers and their contacts. So, just make sure, right, that you're staying within the 150. You can go over it. I just don't recommend it. Okay. And if you need to buy numbers, you can buy numbers here, or you can also import numbers as well. Now, here's your
Nothing burns your
contact
numbers
list.
faster, guys, than exceeding that limit. Nothing burns your numbers faster. What does it mean to burn a number? Is when sellers start saying spam likely, or your number came up as spam or scam, right? And that's one of the biggest ways that you will have low connection rates with sellers, is by not following this rule here. I have a lot of people come up to me and they're like, Chris, like, all my phone numbers are coming up as scam. Why is it? And not enough people hammer this, guys, like Batch does. So I appreciate Kyle sharing this with you all, because this is a big reason why cold calling doesn't work for a lot of people, is because they're doing way too many dials on too few of phone numbers, and it's just burning their numbers, and they're shooting themselves in the foot and killing their chance of success. So this is a huge point that I love about Batch, and I'm glad you touch on that, because no other company will tell you about that. They're just like, oh, just buy a bunch of numbers and just sign up and you're fine, right? But that's not the case. With all the regulations that have come down the pipeline, it's so important for you to follow these rules to make sure that you can actually reach the people that you're sitting down to make calls for. So
yeah, it's all about monitoring the risk, and that's what we really focus on as well: simplicity and monitoring the risk. So the next thing is going to be your contact list. It's very simple to upload that contact list here. You just have a CSV file, you plug it in, you map it out, and you're ready to rock and roll. So you can see I got a bunch of lists in here. We're just going to go ahead and click one of these tax defaults. You could do multiple lists per campaign if you'd like. The next is going to be your call results. Okay, so this is basically what happens after you hang up with somebody, right? Or if it doesn't connect, right? So basically, this is a lot of them. I wouldn't recommend this many. So I just want to show you how you can delete them, but you can also add to, and then you can map these out as well. So here's your call results. And then the last one is your script. So you just go ahead and add a script here, and that's it, right? Now you click this button, boom, and you push save. Now, one thing I want to take note of, okay, is this little button right here. This is advanced configurations. I would advise anybody starting out to just leave them where they are because we take all of the best accounts inside of Batch from our customers, and we basically preset it for you to the dialer's best ability. Okay. There's a lot of cool things that you can do in here, but I'm recommending that if you're just starting out, please just leave it how it is. But I mean, basically we can do a lot of cool things, right? Like suppress, if we're basically contacting a litigator, right? We can suppress and skip people that are marked as litigators, which is good. But when you guys are uploading your list, you should probably already scrub against the DNC. You can do that right here as well. And we can also do like answer machine detection, but this is more advanced stuff. Okay. So I would just leave it to where it is and go ahead and click save, and boom, you have your campaign built. It's going to show up here and you can start dialing. Okay. So one thing I want to show you is what it looks like when you connect with somebody. Okay. And this is pretty cool. So once you connect with somebody, it's going to pop up just like this. All right. And we'll show you the dialer. I'll add this right here. Now, once you're dialing, let's just say Thomas picks up the phone. It's going to show you all of this information. It's also going to pull up his property details. Okay. So you can see all of the information. This way you can build rapport with Thomas. This way you can talk to him about his property. You can go through the photos and look at some of the photos of the property as well. You can see what activity is going on, as in like what other lists that this individual is on. You can see other campaigns that they're in. You can leave notes, right? And then I'll let Chris dive in on this one. We also have lead sheets, which is really cool. So Chris, you want to tell them about the lead sheets? You're on mute.
Okay. So lead sheets, guys. So one of the reasons why I like lead sheets is what my team typically does, right? Is we use a like a web form to submit leads when we're on the dialer to keep things fast. That way, we're not creating new fields and things like that. But what I like about Batch is that you can use what's called a lead sheet, and you can create a web form right within Batch right here, and you could link it with your CRM, so your database where you store all your leads. And so that way, that external form that I'm using, you no longer have to use that anymore. You can use a lead sheet inside here. So it takes away all the multiple windows and things you have to have open. You can just take the notes from the call right here, click submit, and it'll deposit that lead right into your CRM, which is amazing. And you can do that through an integration, and they have a lot of different softwares that you can integrate with it. We use Podio. Podio is pretty simple for a CRM. To collect our leads and track our leads, and they have a integration right here where you can do it, and you can create the fields right here. So this was a huge time saver for us.
Yep. And that's like first name, last name, phone number. I mean, you can have this connected right to your Podio, right, with your CRM, and you can modify this. It's really easy to do that. So yes, lead sheets are very key for your business, especially when you want to continue to follow up with them inside of your CRM. And then we can go back. Let's go back into our profile feed for this individual.
You guys see like all this info that pops up here? Like on the previous dialer that we were working with, this type of stuff did not come up, right? We didn't see a picture of the house, where the house is located. You know, you don't see the estimated equity. If it was listed on the market with a realtor, if it's currently listed, we didn't see any of that stuff. All we saw was what list it was on and the person's first and last name and phone number, and that's it. But look at this. I mean, this is amazing, guys. You can see if they're on multiple lists too. So if the seller says, oh, I'm just not really, you know, I may want to sell them, maybe not. But then you can go over to the campaigns and you can see that they're facing foreclosure. You can see they have a property that's vacant. You can see they live out of state. And that will all help you in your conversation when you're talking with these sellers. Your script will pop up over there. There's even a Zillow link that you can click right there in the left-hand or the right-hand corner. And the property card for Zillow will pop right up there on the screen for you. So you can see all this stuff within the property card inside Batch, and you can even see, like I said, the Zillow pop up here, which is really helpful. Something that we do, I'll just give you guys a golden nugget here. Something that we do and our cold callers do to find the value of a property really quickly to see how motivated the seller is. What we'll do is we'll actually take this estimate, so Zillow's estimate of the value of the property. And if that seller is asking 80% of that number, or within $10,000 of that, we've typically found that's an incredibly motivated homeowner. And if they're willing to sell within 90 days, that is a smoking combination right there. And we found it only takes about 10 of those leads to get a contract. So that is phenomenal. And to be able to have access to that information right there is just, it's so important, guys.
Yeah, like I said, we want to keep it simple for you guys. And there's always, you know, it's always good to poke around on Zillow or Google Maps to get more information, right? The more information you have in the property, the faster you can obviously get those deals under contract. And that's pretty much it for your view. Now, one thing that's really cool is right here. This is your lead score. Okay, so one thing that you can do is you can score every single lead that comes into our system. Okay, and I'll give you an example. So basically, one thing that you'll see is there's a bunch of hundreds right here, and you can basically filter it based on the score of that lead. Okay, and I'll give you an example. Let's just say that an individual picked up and talked to you for 5 minutes on the phone. Okay, I would give that person a score of, you know, maybe 30. I'd give them 30 points because it was over 5 minutes. Let's say that you sent this individual a contract. I'd give that person 100 right off the bat on that one, right? But didn't close. You know, let's say that somebody, you know, hung up 5 times and said to go kick rocks. I'd give that person a negative score, right? And on the dispo, they said, please don't ever call me again, right? I'd give them a negative 100. So one thing that you can do at the end of the day is you can say, hey, or every Friday, right? If you're doing a follow-up Friday, I would say, hey, I only want to have on my list people that are a 75 or more on my lead score. Okay. And there's 547 records in here. So it's going to take a second to load. But what's going to happen is it's going to show you all of those contacts at a 75 to 100 then you can select all right here with them. Actions, you can add to campaign and create that campaign. Okay. You can also say, I want to take all the negatives or all the zeros, and I want to take them and put them on a do not call list, or add them to another list, right? And say that I don't want to call those individuals and exclude them from my campaigns. So this is a really good like sniper tool at the end of the day, or, you know, on that follow-up Friday when you really need to hit those KPIs to say, I'm calling all my hundreds, I'm calling them back, and I'm getting this closed, right? So that's one thing to take into consideration is right here, the lead scoring. Now, there's a lot of other cool functionalities to our software. You know, if you're the owner and you have a bunch of other people that are dialing for you, you know, you can go in here and you can chat them while they are on the phone. You can listen to them while they're on the phone. You can barge, which is basically if they're not doing a great job and you know this is a good deal, you can go in there and save it, and you can barge in and take over that call. And they can invite you to that call, right? And to basically take over to help close that deal as well. So
and this is a lot of amazing cool here, guys. So you can reach out and talk directly to your team. You can send them a quick message. You're listening to like your rep doing something. You can say, hey, say this, blah blah blah, right? Or if you notice one of your reps is on the phone, they're doing something you don't want them to do, send a message, hey, stop doing this. So I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, and just having that communication is key.
Yeah, and you can listen to all the calls, right? Like that's key as well. You want to basically have either a supervisor or yourself at the end of the day, you know, listening to your calls, right? You'll be like, man, I really blew that one. I want to go back and figure out why. So you can go and listen to your calls as well, which is key. Okay. And I think the last thing is the last two things. One is our reporting. Like I said, there's so much reporting in here and understanding like what is going on with your agents or yourself. You can dive into campaigns and look at like what is going on in each campaign. You can look at each agent and see like how long did they call for that day? How long were they on break? You can look at KPIs for individuals as well and say, hey, you know, what numbers, you know, are they doing a great job with this list? Are they not doing a good job with this list? So there's so many different things that you can look at in your data. If you're data driven, which I know a lot of people are just starting out, it's a little hard to really be data driven. But once you get to that point, like there is no better software to give you the data that you need in a very simple way and manner. And you can export that information as well. And lastly, one of my favorite things, and one thing that we wanted to make sure that every single person has the best support possible, right? I know Chris is going to do his due diligence to make sure that everybody is supported and taken care of at the end of the day. But we also want to make sure that you guys are taken care of. So we have, you know, all of these, our own courses and master classes and ways to just cruise through our platform, right? You can schedule a time to do beginner onboardings with us, right? You guys can go ahead and go through our Pendo notifications, which will show you in real time, like how to get started with videos on exactly how to get started. So we take you through all of that information. And then the best part is our help center and then our chat. So in the help center, it's really cool. You guys can dive in here and there's hundreds of videos on getting started, on how to build campaigns, about our phone systems, you know, how to add more users, how to read all the reports. So each one is a very dialed in one video, but also it's going to show you the SOP with the standard operation procedure and with pictures on exactly how to do what you're trying to do. So we don't leave you guys.
This is one of the reasons why I wanted to go with Batch is because their training is like next level. A lot of dialers, you'll get access to, you'll go in and they don't have someone on board you. They just leave you to your own time to try and figure things out. And there's the first dialer that I set up with, guys, like I sat on the phone with support for like 4 hours a week at a minimum, right? The training is very simple. You click a video, they have snapshots for people like me who, you know, don't want to sit there and watch a video. And you can go through and follow the steps there. Or if you're the type of person that likes video and that's how you learn, you can watch a video, but it's all very, very simple, guys. Very, very simple.
Yeah, correct. And you can jump on with our team at any time as well, right? Like you can jump on these webinars, you can jump on the onboarding calls. You can see we do them all the time. And these individuals are experts at what they do. So you're not you're not left behind to not be successful. Like, guys, if you take action, we will make sure you're successful. So the other thing is we have a community that you can join, and in this community, there is over 5,000 people just like yourself, and it's ran by Landry. And I highly advise everybody to get in there because one, not only are we there to help you, right, and we're there to advise you and steer you in the right direction. Landry's in there. You're also connecting with other people like yourself. And if you want to be successful in this industry, it's all about the community, right? It's all about the people you squat up with. And I'm telling you, there's deals getting done every single day in that group. Okay. There's buyers, there's people like yourself that are calling and dialing. There's wholesalers, there's investors, you name it, they're in there. And last but not least is our upcoming webinars, masterclasses. So if you guys jump in here, you'll see our schedule and you'll see like we do 1, 2, 3, 4 days of dialing for deals challenges. Like this is just happening. I think this is just now happening. So the cool part is that like you guys can jump in here. We can show you how to do agent outreach. We can show you guys how to basically dial every single day, what list to dial, and we'll challenge you. And we actually have prizes and stuff that we do as well. So it's all a community and we all hold your hand and we want to make sure that you guys are successful at the end of the day. We're not going to leave you high and dry. So that's basically it. Is there anything else you would like me to cover, Chris?
Let's see for a minute. So to get people started with Batch, so we've talked about adding users, right? We've talked about adding phone numbers and doing that, monitoring the reputation of those phone numbers, creating campaigns. We've got into that. The scripts, we've showed that, the access, everything. I think we've pretty much gone over everything and how to get started. And one of the cool things, guys, I'm going to show you this, or Kyle's going to show you this. So how to actually start a campaign and dialing, right? All you got to do is click this little phone number and join the campaign you just started, and that's it.
And that's it. And you'll see there's a 1, 2, 3. This is a 3-line dialer. Those will turn yellow. As you can see, it's dialing 1, 2, 3 people, and it's going to go ahead and it will connect. Once it connects, it'll pull up the individual's property information, and you guys can go ahead and dial and talk to the individual. And once you hang up and you disposition it, Beth, how you doing? Is this Beth? And see, we'll go ahead and hang up, and you'll see this is your disposition right here. So here's your call results. Whoops, let me see.
You can customize those call results too, guys. For the people that are in the Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple program, we actually set up your dialer for you, and we give you your own custom call results. We give you our scripts and everything like that. But if you watch this video live, okay, I told you guys I had a special gift for you here. If you watch this video live, and you comment below, you're actually going to get our motivated seller cold call script. So we're going to give you guys that for free today.
Boom.
Just for watching this live and setting aside your time. And by the way, guys, if you really like what you've seen today, and you want to sign up for Batch, I'm going to go ahead and put our link here on the screen. So go to BatchDialer.com/VWMS, Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. And the coupon code is VWMS. And what this actually does is, guys, this will give you 50% off your first month with Batch. And then it'll also give you a 7-day free trial. So you want to make sure you use those two together. BatchDialer.com/VWMS, coupon code VWMS. Try to do the free trial, see what you like, and then kind of go from there. So just if you were here, just go ahead and comment live, and then I'll go ahead and make sure we get you that script over to you, no problem. And guys, we have Kyle here. Okay, he's a huge resource and knowledge of BatchDialer, and obviously I'd love to help answer your questions too. But if you have questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments, and I'd love to make sure your questions are answered. I find on this journey, it's very important to know that your questions are answered. That's the way that you can take next steps with confidence, and know that if you put your time into something, your valuable time you're putting into something, that you're going to take steps closer to the goal that you have for yourself. So let's go ahead and drop those questions, guys. If there's anything you want to see him do in Batch, if there's any questions you have, let's get those questions rolling. Kyle would love to show you, and I'm happy to throw in my 2 cents of things and how we've customized certain things too. So if
Yeah,
anyone
of
has any
course.
questions, drop those questions in the comments and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for those questions to come through, and if we don't have any questions, that's okay. It just means you did a fantastic job going through and explaining everything. But guys, get your BatchDialer account, batchdialer.com/VWMS, and the coupon code VWMS, and drop your questions here. If you've had any, like, let's say you're using a different dialer right now, right? And maybe you're having some struggles with that and you're thinking about switching, and maybe you're worried about how you can get one thing over from that dialer to this dialer. We'd love to answer that question for you. And even if you're like, thinking about, man, I'd love to cold call and pick up the phone and talk with sellers, but I'm just kind of, nervous to do that. Share any questions you have, and I'd love to dive into that a little bit and answer those questions for you. But what questions do you have for me or for me or Kyle?
Let me ask you a question, Chris. What, how many people do you recommend dialing a day? And what are some of your KPIs look like when you connect with people, right? Like, how many connections do you want to have per day as somebody?
Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, so here's the thing. So I started out cold calling myself, right? And when I was doing it myself, I was dialing on average of anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a day, right? So that's what I typically recommend people to do, 2 to 3 hours a day. And what I would find is on 2 to 3 hours a day, it would take me roughly about anywhere from 25 to 35 leads to get a contract, right? And that applies no matter how much time you're dialing. It roughly takes 25 to 35 leads to a contract. Something you really want to make sure you're shooting for is a minimum of a 10% connection rate. If you have a 10% connection rate, that says that you have a good quality list. If your connection rate's any lower than that, that usually means that the quality of the skip tracing that you're using with the phone numbers maybe not the best, or maybe where you're getting your list from isn't that great. So you really want to make sure you do that. The abandon rate. So what that is, guys, is if like you are if you're one person dialing on a 3-line dialer, right? And you can only handle one call at a time. So what will happen is one will connect, the other two will drop. If you see that abandon rate go up above, anywhere from go up above like 5%, then you want to know that you got to switch your number of lines down to like a 2 to 1, right? Or you want to go down to a 2 to 1 dialer, or even a 1 to 1. It just really depends on how that rate looks, right? Because you want to make sure you're dropping as few calls as possible and staying within the limit. Because if you go over that, what will happen is your number will go bad faster, right? So what I love about Batch is that, you have the monitoring of the phone number reputation. So you can always see if your phone number is showing up as scam likely or not. And it'll automatically get replaced if, for whatever reason, the phone number's reputation goes down. But there's two things that can really make your phone number show up as spam likely for people: is too high of an abandon rate. And then also on top of that, you want to make sure that you are, the abandon rate, and then over dialing on that phone number, going over that 150 limit, right? So now what I have on is I've since grown to a team, and I have like, I have around 10 people that are dialing for us, right? And so with those people dialing, what I found is in the average 20-hour work week, someone dials roughly around, 5,000 dials a week, right? And you should average somewhere around like 5 leads a week minimum, right? So that is really what you want to look for when you're dialing on Batch. And again, if you really want to make sure that you're reaching as many sellers as possible, watch how many dials, how many phone numbers you have with how many dials you're making. And then you also want to make sure you're staying on top of that abandon rate. That's huge. Let's see. Someone said it was a lot of info, but can see the endless possibilities of this tool. Boom. Love that. Yeah. So guys, I know it seemed like a lot of info, but it's actually very simple. I'm going to walk you through the steps real quick of getting started. You want to add your users. You want to add your phone numbers, right? You want to create a campaign. And then from there, you want to upload your script. And after you do that, you can literally just click the little phone number, little phone circle thing right there, join a campaign and start dialing. It's that simple. So it may seem like a lot at first because you're using it for the first time, you're seeing it for the first time, but after you do it a couple of times, it gets very easy and you'll see how easy it is for you. The last dialer that we were using, guys, it was like 5 steps just to upload a list. It was bananas. Like this right here, you just have to upload a list, and That's it. You go to one spot, upload a list, create a campaign, and you're pretty much done with it, right? So very simple compared to others. And again, the step-by-step tutorials that you have here to walk you through every step of the way is huge, right? So that's what I recommend. I'm also going to give you guys another tip here. So if you could go back to the campaign screen, okay, you're here right now. Fantastic. One of the things that I do to organize this, okay, because in the beginning, when you only have like 1 or 2 lists, not a big deal, right? You can kind of structure it however you want. But when you start getting a lot of lists, okay, so when you're like 5, 10, 15, 20 lists, what I recommend doing, guys, is create 3 types of campaigns. The first type of campaign that you want to have is you want to have a motivated campaign. Okay, so I'll give an example. Let's say you are calling motivated sellers in Duval County, Florida, right? So Jacksonville. What you'll do is you'll go Duval motivated. That'll be the campaign name, and you're going to upload all the motivated lists in there, like the divorces, the vacant properties, the pre-foreclosures, the probates. You're going to upload all those into there, okay? And then once you dial through all the motivateds, that's your closest to the money, the hottest potential opportunity. The next campaign you'd want to have is an absentee campaign, because absentee owners, people that are landlords that want to sell properties, that's a big deal, right? The reason we create its own separate campaign for that is because that's a huge list typically, right? So we create a separate campaign for that, and you call that Duval absentee, right? So we'll call the motivateds first, then we call the absentee lists, and then the third one you want to create is Duval OOC, okay? So OOC stands for owner occupied. So our owner occupied list, that's a huge list, and so that's the lowest in motivation. So we have that the third tier down. Okay. So when you do that and you're calling it that way, you call the motivateds first, then you call the absentees, then the owner occupieds. Then what you do is you circle back to the top of the list and call the motivateds again. Guys, if you run your campaigns in this way, you will never run out of leads, right? A lot of people I talk to that are cold calling, they come to me all the time like, Chris, I've pulled all the lists in my area and I'm out of leads. There's no such thing. If you are going through, you're constantly pulling the new leads every single month, because there's new foreclosures every month, there's new probates every month, there's new delinquent taxes, there's new all these different types of properties, right? And you're pulling those every month, and then you're redialing your lists over and over again using the way that I showed you. Like, you'll always have leads to dial on, and your numbers will stay in good health, and you'll always keep up a good pace. I see a question here. Someone said, so I get at least 20 calls a day that my phone provider IDs as spam. Is it true to say these numbers maybe didn't use a service like yours and run their course of overcalling and then be tagged as spam? Kyle, I'll let you answer that, and I'll give my 2 cents on that.
I mean, of course, yeah. They're not. I mean, number one is they're not monitoring the reputation of their numbers, right? So I'm assuming whatever carrier that you have, they have already flagged that number or those numbers with spam likely. So they're not monitoring 100%. It, and they're over dialing with that number as well.
Yep, 100%. Guys, not all dialers are created equal. That's what I want you to really understand here, okay? The last company we're using, a lot of people, a lot of big companies use that dialer, but the issue was there was no number monitoring within the dialer at all. They didn't tell you how many dials you would want to have to be able to keep your phone number in good health or anything like that. Batch provides all that stuff. And so if you can keep your dial per phone number, and I'm going to show you an easy way to calculate this, guys, okay? So let's say we want to be conservative, and we want to say, okay, we only want to have 100 dials per phone number, right? What you would do is you would say, okay, on an average 20-hour work week, so let's say you're going to be dialing for 20 hours a week, someone could dial roughly during that time around 5,000 dials. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 5,000, okay? You are going to divide that by 5 days in a week if you're dialing by 5 days. So that's 1,000 dials a day. You're going to then divide that by either 100 or 150. Let's call it 100 just because we would be really conservative here. That means you would need 10 phone numbers, guys. 10 phone numbers. So if you have 10 phone numbers and you haven't, that's enough phone numbers for you, and then you're staying on top of your abandon rate, guys, your phone numbers are going to be in good standing, and you're going to be in good shape. One of the things you can do too is if you have the starter plan on Batch, so the lower plan, and you want to look at the health of a phone number before you buy it, do a quick Google search on that phone number. Make sure it's not tied to any type of scammy campaigns that the carriers recycled or anything like that. And if nothing comes up like RoboKiller or anything like that in the Google search, then that number is good and you can go ahead and do that. But I really recommend the advanced plan because that has the number reputation monitoring and all that. And then again, they'll also replace the phone number for you, so you don't have to worry about replacing it. Okay, I saw that she has an AT&T phone. Yeah, so the phone reputation monitoring inside Batch, guys, it will actually show you how that phone number looks across Batch, or how the phone number looks across AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and some of the other carriers as well. So it's really detailed when it comes to the reputation management and monitoring. So that's huge. So yes, if your phone number is getting slammed and it's coming up as scam likely, those people calling you are coming up as scam likely, they're not using the best dialer, and they're over dialing their phone numbers, not staying on top of their reputation, and they're shooting themselves in the foot, wasting time. Great question.
Yeah, one note to add as well is when you're dialing also is make sure you're basically getting numbers that are the area code of the market that you're dialing, right? There's nothing worse than getting, basically buying a bunch of random numbers and it's not the area code of the people that you're dialing. Nobody's going to pick that up as well, right? And usually that's going to be hit for spam likely. So buy your numbers in your market, and only like how I was showing you how to group them to the market. Okay, and then dial.
Yep. Kyle, can you go to the phone number section there really quick? So when he's saying group, I'm going to show you guys what he means by that. So you see in the right-hand side, you have phone number groups. So when you buy a number, you can create a phone number group and put all of them in there. So we do this exact same thing, right? So we'll do like Duval County FL, and so that'll be our phone group, and we put all our 904 area codes in there, right? And then you can create one for each area, and then you can assign these to a campaign. What's really cool about the advanced plan with Batch is they have a proximity calling feature, right? Which means that Batch will sense what area code in the area that you're calling, and it'll match up your area code with that local area that you're calling to make sure you have the highest pickup rates. Okay, so that's big, and that'll prevent you from dialing give an example, dialing Orlando, Florida with a Jacksonville area code. But if you dial Orlando with a 407, those people are much more likely to pick up the phone, so your connection rates just get a boost, right? So that's a very, very good tip, and that's something that can really help you guys. The proximity matching, the reputation management, monitoring your phone numbers within a certain range. I can't tell you guys how many times. And one other thing, guys, too, there's a lot of dialers out there that do not include inbound calls. Like, you have to send them to like a voicemail and then call them back. But Batch actually has the ability for you to receive inbound calls, which is huge. You can assign those inbound calls to a campaign and then hammer those right after you finish dialing on the phone, so you can get back to all those calls. It's very simple. And so this is also a big thing. And then once you go onto a paid plan, Batch also has unlimited minutes for incoming and outgoing. A lot of companies, they'll charge for, they'll give you free outgoing. Some of them even charge for outgoing, which is crazy on a dialer. But the majority of them charge for inbound minutes. Batch doesn't do that. And so that's going to save you guys a lot of money. Also, another big issue with other dialers is they'll have activation fees for phone numbers, right? So you'll pay like a $5 activation fee and then a monthly fee for the phone number. Batch doesn't have activation fees for phone numbers either. And so at that point, that's going to save you guys a lot of money when it comes to phone numbers. So it can get really up there with phone numbers when you're starting to dial a lot. So if you're the type person where you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people on your team, I recommend getting the advanced plan to make sure that you're not paying per phone number and you are reaching as many people as possible. Cool, guys. Well, hey, that's what we got for you today. Before we head out, do you have anybody else have any last questions here for Kyle or me? And if not, that's okay. Again, you want to go to BatchDialer.com/VWMS. Join those and enter the coupon code to save 50% on your first month. And you want to make sure to join those trainings. Okay, how do you deal with a lot of numbers being kept by people like me over years, even after moving to another state altogether? I have a Florida phone, but live in Texas. Most of my spam calls are for services or marketing or for things in South Florida. Have you identified how much of a chunk of calls are like that? That's interesting. I can give my 2 cents on it, but Kyle, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, go ahead. I'd like to hear what you have on this.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically what'll happen is, let's say you have the phone, right? So your phone is in a different area code out of state, right? So the thing is, we're looking at reaching a property in, like, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say we're trying to reach a property owner in Duval County, right? At that point, you would adjust the proximity matching to 904 because that's where the property is located that you're calling on. And that's what we've seen happen before on another dialer as well. So that's what you could expect to happen at that point. So, and I would say that a lot of people, I know we have people that are moving around, but I would say a lot of people, after a few years of being somewhere, they eventually switch over. Give you an example. I used to live on the East Coast. I had a 321 number for so long. I eventually switched over to an 813 number, and I had a lot of people calling me from like a 321. But if Batch can't find the phone number to default to, the area code to default to, it'll pick up just the phone area code assigned to that campaign. So if they can't tell, it'll just pick the area code that's assigned to that campaign. So that's how that can help.
Yep.
Because maybe marketing people in the wrong areas. Yeah. That's another reason why you guys want that proximity matching. So maybe a significant amount of phone numbers being mismarketed to really worry about. You know, I don't think this happens as often as you believe it happens. This is not a big issue that we face with cold calling over the years. And as long as you have accurate skip tracing, where you have the person's most recent phone number, because a lot of times when people move into an area, they will settle in, like I did, to Tampa and get like an 813 number, right? Even though I had my 321 number for 15 years, I got tired of all the calls calling that number. So I switched over.
Genius.
So a lot of people will switch. So you want to make sure you have great skip tracing and you're getting accurate phone numbers, because then you'll have that person's most recent phone number. Hope that makes sense. Great questions, though. Any other questions? Love it. Man, guys, I thrive off of engagement and interaction. You guys have been asking some awesome questions today. I know Kyle's the same way. But thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it. It's been amazing. Go back and watch this recording and make sure that you check this out thoroughly, especially if you're looking to switch to a new dialer. This is very simple, and it's going to be something that I know that you guys will be able to get off the ground running with. And if you have any questions after signing up with Batch, feel free to ask those in Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. The group, happy to answer those questions. And then also make sure to join their trainings and the challenges they have, as they provide a ton of value and they really take care of their customers there. So have a great one, everybody. Kyle, thanks so much for coming on board today. I know you're a busy guy, but it's been great having you walk through the dialer and showing our community what's up and how to use Batch and how they can have success with it. So have a great week, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.